Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Pinstripes After Dark. I'm Uncle Tats, and this is the Pinstripe Chronicles channel where fans become family. I appreciate everybody that is spending their evening with us. Quick shout out to everybody hanging out in the chat. I see Ken, John, Dev. I know Ken and Jonathan have been waiting over a half hour, actually over an hour since they put their first comments in. Appreciate you guys as always. We wouldn't be here without you, but the first thing I want to get into, what's going on, bro? Yeah, you pay attention to your driving. NFE, what's going on? We got Jacob Petruzzi also popping in. All right, here we go. So last Tuesday, it was announced by MLB. It was released. Memo was released to all 30 teams that baseball is going to be implementing the robot ump in a select number of spring training games. And what has me puzzled is how this is all going to work. Is this something that they're going to try to sneak in, going on? It's just an experiment, and then they're just going to go full bore on it and just not let it go away. Hopefully, they're going to also be gauging the fans' reactions to this whole thing, because this is something that has definitely been on the fence with a lot of fans. Some want it, some don't. The human element, tired of the bullshit calls, and the effects it's going to have on the pitchers and catchers relationship, especially with the umpires. I think it's pretty clear that umpires have different strike zones, and it gets frustrating for a while, but I'd rather have the option of knowing that I'm going to have an umpire behind the plate that is going to have either a wide strike zone, a narrow strike zone. Are they going to focus more? Are they looking for things more on the outside corner, the inside, up, down, and all around? So that is definitely something that is going to keep spring training just a little more intriguing. It's definitely something I'm going to be looking in very closely, because I'm not a fan of the robots. I'm not. I understand, and it's a respectable argument to have them. And if he's putting a little more clarity onto it, I appreciate you. They're going to implement the system. They'll be getting feedback from the organizations. And that's good that they're trying to get some feedback on it. Chris is adding in here, the umps just need to be held accountable after a while. Some of these calls are absurd, and I think that's why they're making this push. Enough's enough. They're making too many mistakes with the strike zone, and even with the base paths. How many times, have we seen a call at first base, and it's like they're constantly going into the review booth? It's something I think it's inevitable that we're going to have it. I just want to see them try to hold off as much as possible. Ken's adding in here, Tats. They've been using these robot umps in the minors for at least 2 seasons with a 10-second challenge. I do know. No, I did talk about that briefly. I think we talked about that during the trade deadline, the All-Star week, when things were a little slower in the news front. We took an opportunity to talk about it. And the whole challenge system, that I'm okay with. If you're going to be able to challenge, give the managers full leverage to make a challenge on anything they want. I think that's something that's really important. Is letting we keep telling these guys they have to manage. They're the ones that push for the replay system, which is going to tie into the robot situation as well. It all ties in. Jonathan's adding in here, I am not a fan of a complete overhaul of robot arms, but more consistent strike zones are helpful. And I think that's the overall goal, Jonathan. I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get just a little more consistency in some of these umpires and the calls they're making. They want a more unified strike zone. That I'm okay with. But that I think could be self-corrected through a replay system where a manager gets an extra. They always say you can't argue balls and strikes. I think those days are disappearing. Um, Lou is adding in here. It's time to move forward with the robo arms. All right. So it seems like Lou is all in favor um, of the robot arms. And I can't argue against you. Just because it's not something I would go for. The argument has been made with a lot of conviction to have the robot arms. So it is what it is at this point. The technology is getting is growing, and a very dated game of baseball has to make some adjustments into the technology era. So I really can't. I can continue to make my case of why they shouldn't have the robot arms, but the argument for it is also a very intriguing argument. And I think it's a very high, Sean's actually using a word that I would want to use for this. Where you're saying, how about a hybrid system? I don't want to lose the human element. And it's not gonna take away the human. You're still gonna have a guy behind the plate. What it's going to do is it's gonna have the egregious calls. I think it's gonna take that away. I think you still, the other, there are other aspects to it. We'll get into a whole thing with how we value the catching. That's part of my argument against it because you have a guy like a Trevino, who is an excellent pitch framer, and Wells is turning. He's growing into a pitch framer as well. So how's that going to affect those guys? Where they can kind of fool the ump with some quick glove action to pull it back into the zone. I think that's also a part of the game. So now you're going to devalue something that we considered a value in the catcher. So there's so much into it. And Lou's adding in a human will relay the call. Yeah, as I'm saying, you're still going to have somebody behind the plate. FJ, what's going on, man? How you been? I know a lot of us have been on the streaming circuit today. So glad that you guys are joining me to round it out and bring an end to a very good YouTube Yankees live stream day. Sean's adding in here automatic review for plays at the plate and challenge for questionable calls. I don't know if it's going to be an automatic review. I think that's where the manager's challenge is going to come into play. And I'm okay with it, but it's got to be done the right way. It's got to be done in a situation where where if you lose your challenge for play on the base running, I think to throw to ask for a challenge where it's at the plate with the pitching and the umpire, I think that has to be a separate kind of challenge flag. You can't have one challenge for both. I think you need one challenge for each. That's the way I see it to make it work. Ken, there are sites that are tracking the accuracy of each ump's game called. The worst I saw last year was a 79% accuracy. That's not good. Especially you think of the process that these umps go through to become major league umps. This is almost like they go through like a boot camp training. I have a guy I work with went through it, and it's he was explaining to me the process that they go through with going through rigorous training on testing of your eyes. They even part of it is they want to see for the entertainment factor of it, they want to know what your strikeout call is, and you have to create your own strikeout call. That's why sometimes you see these umps, they each do something different. And your accuracy is a big part of going up the ladder to the major leagues. So it makes you wonder, how bad are the ones that are in the minor leagues going through the system if the major league umpires are this freaking bad? Bringing this comment, yo, what's going on, Nick? Humans making mistakes is part of baseball. It's an imperfect game. Don't change a thing. I get it. I do. That's why I don't think that there should be a robot behind the plate. I think the best way to correct this issue is to have this, an extra challenge flag just for balls and strikes that you're only allowed to use once a game. There's no, you get an extra one in the extra in the seventh, after the seventh inning, like you would with a regular call. And I think during extra innings, you get your challenges back. You get one. You want one back each. I'll go midlife crisis stats. Yeah, and we'll be getting into that comment from Brady. I'm going to put a star on that one and come back to it. We'll put a little pin in that one. And this is where, and Jonathan's comment right under it, the Galarraga game. That was the game where I was like, they got to bring in a replay system. That was what sold me on it. It was something that bad. And so, that's something that definitely, I think the replay system, it still needs a little tweaking, but I think it's in the right spot. I think it's not damaging the game that I have seen. I just wish they would shorten it, where if you can't figure it out in 30 seconds, the call should stand. That's just the way it is. Nick is adding in and appreciate all the comments. There are 4 umpires on the field. They have 4 sets of eyes on every play. They should be able to get most calls correct. It is. That's true. I think they're trying to modernize the game, though, because the game is, people don't have the patience like we grew up with. Younger fans just don't have the attention span. That's why they're trying to speed the game up. That it's, all the other sports of the big 4 with, football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. Those are the big 4. It's, everybody was passing them by, and baseball had to do something. They were having an identity crisis. They weren't able to bring in new fans, so they had to make some drastic changes. And some of the changes people like, some of the changes, just people, I can't stand the Manfred man of the second in extra innings. I think that's one of the stupidest rules that's in baseball, especially if you're not going to implement it in the postseason. Then what the fuck was the point? They got to play the game the whole way through the same way all around, which is why I was happy that they they brought in the universal DH in both leagues. And that was a big argument for a while, and I'm sure, there are still people. I'm curious with Nick and Chris, who are Met fans, how they feel that they don't have the DH anymore. And as we've seen the last couple of seasons without it, how do they feel? So I'm curious to what your guys' opinion is from the National League side. All right. So let's get to if a batter swings at a ball out of the zone, the system calls it a ball. Does ump override the system? No, because he swung at it, so it would still be a strike. But I think I know what you're trying to say. Lewis throwing in here once again with a question. They have way too many mistakes. The game will speed up with the robocall and balls and strikes. Because I don't want it getting out of hand where we're challenging every call. There has to be a limit to it. I think that's the best way to kind of appease both sides, and where the old fucks like us that don't want any changes, don't notice it, but you still see a little bit of monetization, and some of them can be, you still get those challenges. It's just going to force the it's going to force the managers to actually be dialed in the game and understand the situation if they want to use it or not. So that's why I'm okay with them bringing it in, but I want it for the time being on a very limited basis. And if they want to speed up the game, but the games are still over 3 hours. I think the majority of the games were under 3 hours this season. I think they shaved like 20 minutes off, where it's like a game is just a little over 2.5 hours. So I don't know if it's still. Look, I don't care if it's a 6-hour game. I really don't. I'm still going to be locked into every inning. I'm still locked into every pitch. And a lot of the games, if they're going over 3 hours, it's because there's a lot of action going on. And that's always a good thing. Sean is sharing my sentiment. Yeah, the man-fed runner is stupid. It really is. Ken here, I venture to say that umpires miss a ton of check swings. Judge probably has more low balls out of the strike zone than anyone in baseball. That actually is factual. Judge has been struck out more times than balls out of the zone because of his size. And I remember Susan Wallman always making the joke. What do they expect him to do? Shrink? They haven't adjusted to a guy to his size at the plate. They have to adjust adjust the strike zone. And they just don't have the ability to do it. It sucks. Nick is throwing in here. I don't mind the DH, but I do miss seeing some of these pitchers who could flat out rake but don't get the chance. Yeah, I guess I see your sentiment there. There what like Bumgarner was a phenomenal. Was it Bumgarner? It was a really good hitter. Kershaw also was a good hitter. DeGrom, when he first started, was a good hitter. So, yeah, it is fun to see the pitchers take a swing. We all remember, Bartolo Colon with his home run. That was, baseball needs stuff like that. They need those types of moments. And the pitchers, it's just, and Greinke was a good hitter. FJ's thrown in here for years. The strike zones in the National American Leagues were different because the umpires wore different style of chest protectors. Interesting. I didn't know they wore different protectors. Very cool. So, if they implement this new system, will this new system be able to adjust the players' heights, i.e., judge that? They better. Otherwise, it's really going to be a pain in the ass. It's really going to suck if they can't. People can program the robot umps to their own preferences. Well, which people? I'm sure there has to be. I think they would have to have somebody, from like the outside, that would put the settings in to the radar to justify if it, to make the decision if it's a ball or a strike. I don't think it's something that you could just MLB IT. Okay, I got you now. Yeah, it's. Yeah, Lou's saying, of course, it'll be adjusted for every player. One, they would have to. Yeah, I would hope so, Judge. No, that's I mean, but that's what I'm saying. This is where there are going to be anytime you make a change, there's going to be a ripple effect, whether it's positive or negative. And the issue would be until we see it ourselves on the major league level, we're not going to, we're really not going to be able to fully form our opinion on it. That's my take. I hated the pitch clock. I really did. Um, After being at a couple of games, you don't even notice it anymore. I think everybody got used to that one fairly quick. Um, I think the only thing that the pitch clock really did was it kind of took that game of chess away, and that staring contest between the batter and the pitcher. When you want to just kind of take a little walk around the mound, to kind of get the batter's timing, to kind of disrupt the hitter's timing, and vice versa, with the batter stepping out to disrupt the pitcher's timing, slow the game down. That's part of the strategy of baseball, which is why I never thought that the pitch clock would work, but you don't even notice it. I think that this next generation of players coming in who have had this in the minor leagues for a while, they don't even think about it anymore. And then you get guys like Stanton that never even step out of the box. So, we all enjoyed, the frustration of watching Big Poppy step out. He's got to fix both his batting gloves. He's got to stretch. He's got to make a call home. And then he gets back in the box and he used to drive the pitches crazy. And they would get frustrated and they would throw a mistake pitch and he'd make you pay for it. Like that's part of what the clock took away. And if he's adding in, the pitch clock did grow on me. And some of the players that I've talked to are in favor. And let that lead into this little side note here. Make sure you check out the Strike Zone channel on YouTube, as he does interview a lot of players, and we want to help him get the chat up for these players to have the interaction with us as fans. As much as we want to hear their takes, they want to hear ours as well. And and if you put the link in who you have on with you tomorrow, in the chat, so everybody will know to check it out if they don't already. Next one from Nick. From Nick here. Sorry, my voice is a little off. It's been a long day. Every rule they make, including the pitch clock, benefits the hitter. Including the pitch clock. MLB wants a ton of offense, but yet they want to shorten games. Makes no sense. See, Nick, they want to bring more offense to the game, but these rules have not benefited the hitters at all. It's actually set them back. You shouldn't have offenses going into slumps the way they do on a team-wide basis when all these rules were put in place to increase the offense, to bring players in. When did the baseball have its, some of its best growth in our generation? During the steroid era, because they were hitting the ball out of the park like crazy. And you have to realize that if something, if you see that it's not working, doubling down on some of these rules is not the answer. Maybe just that rule is not helping the game move along at all. So you have no choice but to, all right, you know what? It's time to get rid of it. And you tried, you failed, you adjust. And you see what Raziel's saying here. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you are watching and you want to join in the chat. We always appreciate everybody's opinion. whether you're a Yankee fan or not. Um, and yes, NFE will have MLB pitcher Jay Jackson on his show tomorrow, who is currently a free agent. So that's definitely I will be sneaking into that chat for sure to see how get his state of mind um, with the off season market. That's definitely going to be a show to watch. And so make sure you check out NFE on the Strike Zone. He's got a great fucking channel over there. Great supporters of us, and we support him back as well. But some of I think some of the roles have become very fluid. I think the pitch clock has become fluid. Like I said, I think they've gotten used to it. They've adapted to it as from the last few years with the minor leagues. But I think that they, there are some rules where it's like it doesn't speed up anything. Like they're putting up the 4 fingers for a walk. That I thought was a stupid rule. So there were just some. Like I think the runner on second, I think actually is the stupidest rule in baseball. And it's a shame that the players voted it back in. Ken's throwing in here. I remember Dave Kingman was the first player to strike out in the season. The same reason Tony Gwynn struck out 12 times in his season. I mean, well, that's why I was making the point earlier, Ken. You were in this morning show. We were talking about Spencer Jones. They're talking about his strikeout rate. Like nobody pays attention to strikeouts. It's the situation of the strikeouts. Judge Stanton, these guys, they have tons of strikeouts, but they also have tons of hits. They have home runs. They put up the numbers. Despite the high strikeout rate. When you have a power hitter, you're going to have strikeouts because they're swinging. I think the other reason I think there's a lot of strikeouts is the stupid launch angle. I think this whole emphasis with this, the arc of the ball. Sometimes it helps with the wind, sometimes it doesn't. Then the exit velocity is like some of the stats just go too far, and it diminishes I think it diminishes the numbers. I think batting average still matters. I remember one time Susan Waldman was like, "Oh, they're like, oh, we hit it 300 and something feet." She's like, "Who cares how fast it left? Was it a home run or not? Because that's all that matters. What's the score?" And she's right. That's why I like listening to the older commentators in the booth, because they're relatable. Jonathan's adding in here, teams shouldn't be comfortable with one player striking out 200 times. Well, I'm not saying they should just accept it. I just don't think it's that big a deal. If Judge strikes out in the first inning, strikes out in the fourth, and then comes up and hits a walk-off in the ninth, are we complaining about the strikeouts? Or are we celebrating the hit? That's what I'm saying. It's the strikeouts for me. The critique is the timing of the strikeout. That's when it gets frustrating for me. Back in the day, if you had 100 strikeouts in the season, you went on the wall of shame. Facts. Well, if you batted under 300, you were a bum. You batted under 250, you didn't even belong in the league. Now they celebrate it because, he's batting 200, but he's got 50 home runs. Big deal. Nick, can we touch on the reports that the Mets are the front runners for Soto? I hate being the front runner because recent history shows the front runner usually does not land the guy. We could talk a little Soto for a little while before we head out. Not a problem. Uh, can't go wrong with some Soto talk in the evening. Even though my voice is just about gone. But no, there were reports that offers have started to come in on Juan Soto. I think that it depends on who you look. I think it's depending on which reporter you're looking at, Nick. Uh, you know, some are going to say, "Oh, the Mets are the front runner." There were people saying that the Yankees were the front runner because he's already been in their system. He's familiar with them. He knows their plan long term, which I think that was probably the stupidest report because they don't even know their plan. They don't have one. I don't know their plan. I feel like being quiet and jumping in last minute on these guys is the better approach. I think with these big free agents, no, you want to be out there in the front. You don't want to wait. You don't want to have these big guys, these big players turning around and going, well, where have you been this whole time? They already put in all this work. So I think that's why some of the big stars, you rarely see a sleeper team actually get them. There'll be an offer, but you'll very rarely see them go. I don't think that's the case. And I think the front runner for Soto is Steinbrenner and Cohen. I don't think they're separate. Not this time. I really don't. He's going to either the Yankees or the Mets. It all depends on which owner cracks first and bows out because the bidding war has just gotten out of control. I think that's the only way. I think that's going to be the deciding factor. I also think it's going to be whatever team makes other adjustments. It's going to, that's where it's going to come down to. Who's already put in the work? That's why I think the Yankees should be already making other moves. I think the Mets, Nick, you could agree to this. They should already be making moves. They need pitching. They don't have a rotation. So they have to start making moves. Otherwise, Soto, he might pick a team because their rotation is solidified and they have a deep rotation. So it's going to give the offense a chance to do its thing. The Mets are talking to Snow. Okay. And Jonathan is asking what I would change in the next CBA. That is one. I would get rid of the qualifying offer. I think it's outlived its purpose. I would also. I'm also going to wait until next Monday. To if I was commissioner. I always liked those discussions. We had a lot of fun with it last season. Maybe we'll rehash those discussions for some of the people that are new to the channel. And so we'll be able to tease it for a little while. Yankees need to figure out a leadoff hitter, first base, bullpen. Yeah, and that was really, I think, the focal point of the shows today on our channel here and NFV, who was on earlier this evening, is the Yankees do need a leadoff hitter. They don't have a first baseman, so that's something that they need. They need to get their ass in gear. That's why I think the Yankees need to. And I'm going to try to figure out what I would put in my package for Donovan. I think Brandon Donovan is the perfect fit in a trade to fill the void of first base, bring in a leadoff hitter. My sources are saying they're trying their best to land Soto, Pete, and Snell, which is crazy. No, what's crazy is how you think that's crazy after we've had arguments about, how deep his pockets are and Cohen can get every player that he wants. and it's not going to, and it's not going to make a big deal. Not going to be a big deal. So what's crazy is these fans that, and I hope you're not arguing about the money that's being spent. If they're able to get Soto, Alonso, and Snell, then yeah, those are three issues. Those are three areas that you need to address. And I'm not even talking about Alonso on the Yankees for first base because I don't think he's going to fit. I'd rather go the trade route. Because I think bidding for Alonso with Cohen is. I would just leave that one alone. I would leave Alonso alone. Next, CBA add a floor for the team spending. I agree. I would do that. If Uncle Tats is commissioner, then he never get anything changed or done as he's continuing losing his train of thought. That's very possible. Very possible. Jonathan, Judge isn't getting involved with Soto's choice. I wouldn't buy into that comment. I think Soto is involved. On the level where he's not talking with Soto, but I think that Aaron Judge is in constant contact with the Yankees brass, and I would hope they would call him for his opinion. That's a three-way trade between the Mariners, Cardinals, and Yankees. Gets Donovan to the Yankees. That's interesting. His trade thought gets better the more Miller Lights he has in his system. Usually, yeah. It's when I have the coffee in the morning where I get my morning jitters. I get a little off track. No, I don't think he could talk to Soto directly. I don't know how that. Someone would have to explain to me. I have to look into how the tampering thing works. If that's only in season or if you can talk to him off season. I never really looked into it. I never put a lot of thought into that. To be honest, I'm not here to bullshit anybody. If there's something that I haven't thought of or don't know about, I'm not going to fucking hide it. Believe it or not, as old as I am, I don't know everything. Judge and Hal have already spoken about what needs to be done for next season. Yeah, that I know is factual. They have been in conversation. So, there was a comment earlier before we go that Brad threw in here about my midlife crisis, and I put a tweet out yesterday, that I felt like I was in a midlife crisis because it's Sunday, and I'm sitting back. I'm going to sit in, and I'm just watching and actually enjoying football. And football, I have always said baseball is the only game I watch, the only game I care about. So one thing I learned about myself over the last 2 years or 2 football seasons, that football ain't that bad a sport to watch. I've actually, from hanging out with my coworkers and talking about it. Yeah, Uncle Todd's enjoying football. You better believe it. And I started paying attention last year. I was really intrigued by the season of the Detroit Lions. So I'm like, all right, this is, them with their history, not being able to, the only team that hasn't been to a Super Bowl and all of that. So I started rooting for them. And then I started kind of paying a little more attention, sitting home, watching the game a little bit. I'm not completely blind to how the game is played. I do know how it is. Get me into combat sports. That might not be that hard to do because I always did it when I was younger. I loved watching boxing. But then this year I decided to go all in, and I've declared myself a Detroit Lions fan. I really enjoyed watching them play. They put together a hell of a season, and oh, how? Why am I getting committed? But no, I've actually really enjoyed uh, this football season and following the Lions. And so yeah, I have officially taken the plunge, and yeah, no, I think he's just gonna be. I think my dad's gonna be happy that I'm actually a football fan. Um, but I always did enjoy I did enjoy watching it with my dad. My dad's a Giants fan. Uh, yeah, thank God you're not a Jets or Giants. Yeah, a lot of people are telling me that. They said I made the right choice, but some of my favorite memories with my father are watching Giants football. Um, especially the two Super Bowls that they were in '07 and 2011. Um, so it's not that I was blind to the game. I just never got into it. I could watch, the Cubs and the Reds play a baseball game, be locked into every pitch. Put on football, I could take a nap. And the more I started really putting time into it, then yeah, I was like, this is like I really got into it. Where after Aunt Tats got and I got back from a little weekend trip, we got back early. I was like, all right, it's about halftime for the 4 o'clock games. I put the games on. I was watching the Packers, and then I watched the Eagles game, and I'm like, this is fun. I really did enjoy it. As long as I'm not a Bills fan. Well, my wife is a Bills fan, so easy there, Sean. But the Bills are no joke either. But I don't think the Bills are going to go far, and I don't really have like other teams. It seems to me like the Lions are the team to beat this year. And I mean, you can't argue against the Chiefs, but the Eagles, I think the Eagles are going to be a problem too. The Eagles are freaking good. But we'll get into more football talk as the more I learn. I'm still learning a lot about the players and certain stuff like that. Following a few things on social media, kind of enhance my fandom at this point. But yeah, who would have thought? All right, we'll get into a couple more comments here. Rumors have Orioles losing Santander and Burns. What do they do to stay relevant in the AL East? Pray. I don't think I could see the Orioles going after big after like a Max Fried. I think they'll try that route. I think they took their shot with Burns. I think they're going to let him go. They'll try, but they will fall short of getting Burns back. Jonathan, Bills have the worst luck in NFL history. You have no, believe me. Yeah, I remember those teams in the '90s. I remember the headlines. I see Burns signing back with the Orioles. I think Santander is good. Yeah, I don't think they're bringing Santander back. Yeah, the Lions are savage this year. You're absolutely right. But that is going to wrap things up for me tonight. I'll squeeze in a couple more comments from you guys because you guys have been killing it with the conversation today. I guess they could overpay Fried to fill Burns' spot. I don't think Fried's going to be an overpay. I think his injury history is going to kind of bring the price down a little bit. I would think it'd be harder to get free agents to come to Baltimore. Not with the youth they have. And they also have the new ownership group. with Cal Ripken. So I think that they're going to be a team that I think they've earned the right to be respected in free agent talks. And we'll see how it goes for them as an organization. Hopefully they fall flat. It's just going to benefit the Yankees. So pitching as a premium, teams will overpay. Yeah, no, he's going to get, look, Fried's going to get paid. They just might not have to overpay to a point where it's like a stupid contract. But pitching is always the premium. Yeah, Kikuchi. Yeah, that was the other talking point all day. You know, what 3 years, $63 million? That's insane. You know, and that's a guy that's had some injury history. You know, when he's been able to pitch well, he's been good. But I just don't see where he's going to be. I was hoping for one of the other guys going to set the market at a different rate. It makes you wonder now, what is Corbin Burns going to get? Yeah, it's definitely an overpay. Definitely. Nick, I'm going to lose my mind if Dodgers gets Sasaki. Look, I think that's where both us New York teams can come to a united front and do whatever you have to do. Just keep that kid away from that team. Burns is looking for 7 years. I didn't see that, but okay. I don't like giving pitchers that much time. I really don't. Could Burns? I mean, Cole got 9. I was okay with that. So I don't to put it in terms where it's not hypocritical. Yeah, Burns is a bona fide ace. So maybe the 7 years you bank on the first 5 doing well for you, and you cross your fingers for the other 2. That could make sense. But that is the 35 mil AAV for Burns. Ken is throwing in there. Yeah, that's about in his market. I could definitely see that. It's just going to now you have to figure out the years, but that we can get into on the next show. We can talk about some more of the potential signings, predictions of where players are going to go. That's always fun to do. Because I saw earlier there was a reporter that there was a graphic that came out from MLB Network that had where all these big free agents are going to go, and the Yankees weren't even one of them. So I don't know why they don't want to give the Yankees anybody. They never predict that. They never give us the credit that they deserve for being able to really pursue some of these big ticket free agents, and most of the time we get them. So we'll see how it all plays out. But that's going to wrap things for us up this evening. Do hope everybody enjoyed the chat as much as I do. Appreciate every single one of you. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this out, your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This has been Pinstripes After Dark. I am Uncle Tats. And as I always say, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.